So I just finished up my day in Delphi. It's gorgeous. I'm representing Baltimore though. I took all these videos of the landscape and it was just really amazing. I don't think I can truly capture how like sweeping the landscapes are with the mountains, and there's just so much like depth and just scale. It's so big, and it's also really insane. I just got out of the museum looking at all of the sculptures, and it's just really hard to comprehend how they even made those things to begin with. I guess slave labor, but yeah, it was pretty incredible what they were able to accomplish. Let's see what else. So I'm right next to the road. The way that Delphi is set up, it's basically the Temple of Apollo and all the ruins, the Delphi Museum, and then the road with a million tour buses like that one. And then just up the road from the museum and the ruins is the little tourist town of Delphi. Just basically two roads that consists of mostly hotels and restaurants for tourists. So yeah, it's kind of a funny place. It's like, I'm really glad I came in the morning because I thought that maybe that would be the busiest time of the day, but all of these tour buses take the like huge groups of people up from Athens in the morning, so they get here more after lunchtime, and then they tour around the sites in the museum, and then they go back all in one day. So I'm really glad I didn't do that. I thought about it. It kind of is economical and makes sense if you really just want to kind of go through it. But I wanted to sit and draw, and so I knew I wanted to not be rushed and not be a part of a group. So I'm really glad I made that choice. I came up yesterday, actually from the airport. So I stayed one night next to the airport and then went back to the airport yesterday morning, took a subway train into like more the center of Athens, and then got into another train and was on that for an hour and a half till I got to a small town, Levedia, I think is right. And then luckily there was one taxi because that was my plan, was to get off the train and take a taxi. So there was one guy and there was two of us who needed a ride. So we went and dropped off this other guy like within 10 minutes. And then he was like, "You want to go to Delphi?" And he was speaking in Greek, like we couldn't really understand each other, but I was just like, "I'm going to Delphi." And he was like, "Delphi." And he was like, okay. And we basically, like, he would say things to me in Greek and I would just say ne, which is yes, or Evkaristo, which is thank you. That's all I could say. Or Kalispera, which is good afternoon. So like my three go-to phrases. They got me pretty far though. So it was a 48-kilometer drive. So it was like 40 minutes, half hour, longer side of a half hour from Levedia. And so it took, you know, most of the day. I got off the train 4:20, and then yeah, probably got like into actual Delphi in my hotel by like 5:15ish. So yeah, it was kind of a long day yesterday getting here, and I think that taking a bus straight from Athens to Delphi would be a lot wiser. I might try to do that on the way back because the taxi was just so expensive. It was 70 euros. And then that didn't include the train, which was another like 15 euros. So I definitely chose the more expensive route, but the train was beautiful. And I really enjoyed it. Yeah, I definitely feel really inspired today with my project and learning about all of these Greek goddesses and like capturing a divine feminine. So I think that's been the coolest part for me. I knew I wanted to come and learn more about the oracle, and I still have more that I really want to study about her and her role. I was sitting and drawing the Temple of Apollo and got to kind of overhear some of the tour groups. So I did hear a little bit about how people would go and basically seek out advice from the oracle, and she would, I think they were saying once a month, she would kind of have a day where she did prophecies, and then I think one time a year there would be like a really big festival day. So yeah, I'm interested in that. The other thing I really liked that one of the tour guides talked about was this idea of fate versus prophecy, I guess, and that the oracle in many ways would kind of give suggestions, but then ultimately it was up to the person to make their own decisions. And I really liked that idea. They talked about how, right, like each of us are fated in some way, that we don't necessarily, well, whatever you believe, like, you know, we don't necessarily choose where we live or what, you know, the people we know or who we are, but there are things that we get to choose ourselves. So many tour buses. Yeah. So yeah, I'm really excited. I loved seeing, I was drawing the Sphinx for a little while. I drew the Temple of Apollo because that was where the oracle was located. And yeah, so this is just kind of one part. Another thing that stuck out to me, I guess, was the idea of votives. I want to learn more about that. These dedications, ceremonies. I just think it's really interesting the way that people, you know, choose to commemorate things and to create these just like sacred spaces. So those are things that are really interesting to me. Oh yeah, and also the goddess Nike, I was learning more about her. So I think all these characters that I was reading about today and encountering, I'm just interested to see how I can incorporate them more into my artwork and my story.